Do you want more freedom? Of course you do. We all do. And to be fair, that is what life is all about. I mean, for me, I think it's wrong that most people spend most of their time working. And so freedom is something that I think we should have and we should enjoy. It should be our birthright. My name's Andy Lehman. I'm from the freedomskillsacademy.com, and I'd just like to say thank you for joining us here on this video. So today I want to talk about freedom. What is freedom, and basically why you should be chasing freedom over anything else. So before we get into the bones of it, when I say that you should be chasing freedom over everything else, some people may think that I mean chase freedom over money. Now, money is incredibly important because having money can give you freedom. In today's society, we are very much geared up for money. The kind of freedom that you can have without money can actually be very non-freeing. So please don't think that I'm going to try and say that you shouldn't be working or you shouldn't be trying to earn money and that you should be camping in a field somewhere, because for a start that's not going to work, because you're going to need food, you're going to need water, and you're going to need possibly the permission from the farmer, maybe even have to pay rent or rates or something. So freedom, unfortunately, in today's world means that you are going to need money. However, going back to freedom, we live in a world where majority of the people are going to spend from the age of possibly 16, maybe 18, maybe a little bit longer, depending a bit older, depending if they went to university or college. They're going to go and get a job. They're going to have probably several jobs throughout their lifetime, and they're going to work till, I'm going to say 65, because that is the retirement age. I know in my head, I think it's changed recently for people in the UK. For men, it's probably 68 at the moment. It's going up to possibly 70, who knows. And that's a long time to be working, especially when you consider that out of your week, out of the 7 days, you are going to be working possibly 5 days. I mean, there's a lot of talk now about changing that down to a 4-day week. There's been a lot of research showing that that works, and that's great. And that is a step in the right direction towards more freedom, because you don't want to be working all of your time. You certainly don't want to be working all of your life, but 5 days a week at roughly 8 hours for God knows how many years is a huge amount of your time. Some people get up in the morning, they jump out of bed, jump in the shower, straight in the car and off to work. They don't even get time to sort of chill and relax. They don't get time to sit and contemplate or even do something fun. They're just straight out the door and at work. And then when they leave, if they're doing overtime because they need the money, and by the time they get home, especially in winter, it's now September and we're going to soon be hitting winter, that as soon as we're hitting winter, it's going to start getting dark. So people are leaving work at dark. They're not even seeing the daylight, especially if they're in certain buildings. I mean, I used to work in a factory which fortunately had some big wide doors wide open, and there used to be roof lights letting the light come in. But as part of that job, I remember going to several factories where I went in, and the main workshop was within, like, you went through a set of doors, down a passageway and then in, and it was pitch black. And I just kept thinking, this is the middle of the day, and this wasn't a dark day, this was a bright day, and the lights were on. And I just kept thinking that this is awful, this is worse than being in prison. And people are doing this every day for 5 days of the week, up to God knows how many years of their life. Now, going back to freedom, you should be having freedom. You should enjoy life, because being alive is a gift, and being human is a blessing. And we live in a beautiful world currently, until we're on the edge, as they say, on everything could be going downhill. So definitely we need to enjoy it now while we can, or even help to try and prevent any major catastrophe that's in front of us on this beautiful planet. But we do have we should have the right to enjoy a wonderful life. Now, I was unfortunate when at the age of 21 I had to bury my dear late sister, who was involved in a car accident. And from that point I realised that life was short and that life was precious. and that just around the corner there's always something there. You always know about it. You see it in films, in TV. You talk about it, but I don't think you truly know. You don't truly understand, or you know it. You don't own that information, and so with so with that knowledge, you kind of have a complete change around you. You realise that life is short and life is precious. And so with that, you do not want to be spending most of your time working. Now, if you find a job that you enjoy, that's brilliant, because I spend a lot of time working, but I enjoy what I do. So I'm in the office, but I've got myself set up in a job that I can spend my time doing the work while listening to music. I'm not stuck having to follow other people's rules. And so I am able to choose what I do as and when. And I choose to do quite a lot of it because I enjoy it. You've obviously got to fill your days with something, and this is something that I enjoy, and that is the whole purpose. There's a saying somewhere that they say that if you find a job that you love, you'll never work another day in your life. So this is not always necessarily working. This is something that I enjoy. It's a pleasure. But I'm free to go and do what I want. So this afternoon, if I decided I wanted to go down to the coast, if I want to go to the seaside to have a coffee, maybe some chips and mushy peas, I can do that if there's nothing pressing. Obviously, I have work to deliver for certain people. I have to do certain things, but as long as the work gets done, I can do it. But that's because I chose freedom over certain other jobs. I decided I wanted to develop a series of freedom skills. Now, freedom skills allow you to be able to do what you enjoy and earn money, but freedom skills are also often premium skills, and I think this is very important. If you want to enjoy a life of freedom, which in today's society, as we say that money is important, money is needed, then you need to find something that you can do which will pay you more than just a simple job and also gives you more free time. So that old saying, work smarter not harder, kind of comes into play here. You kind of decide and find a way to make money, find a way that you can earn money to do, which will allow you to go and do the stuff that you want to do. So, for example, I am a digital nomad. I can work here, I can work in Ireland, which incidentally is what I'm planning to do. The house is up for sale. We're moving to Ireland soon. We're going to have possibly 2, maybe 3 months in Portugal before we move to Ireland, and so that we can have some winter sun before we start a new life in Ireland. And when we're in Ireland, the plan is to buy a camper van, work during the sort of mainly the weeks, possibly 4 days, 5 days, depending, but we are free to jump in the van and travel across Ireland, have a look around the area. But I'll be taking my laptop and stuff with me because obviously I can work from anywhere. So that is a freedom skill. I have got the ability, and I'm in a position where I can do that, earn money and still travel and enjoy life without having to be stuck on a location dependent job. I will not be working for somebody else, and I will not be having to go to a place to work to do the work. And the work that I do also means that I don't have to be in a specific location. For example, in the past I used to be a carpenter and joiner, so I was doing lots of woodwork for people, which is brilliant. It's a job and a skill set I can take abroad, but I still need to go to people's houses. I still need to go and get the timber from the timber yard, and I still need to have a workshop to do a lot of the stuff, and I need somewhere to store my tools. Now that I'm in the digital world, it's a completely different ball game, and so I have more freedom to be able to do what I want. I can work as and when I want, and I can work from anywhere. And so this is something I think most people now should be sort of trying to embrace. And again, I know it can't be for everybody, because obviously we need builders, we need joiners, but we also need, even if you decide you want to be a builder, if you still wanted to be a joiner, if you still wanted to do that, there are ways to create other forms of passive income which will allow you possibly to work for yourself as a joiner and only do 2 days or 3 days. So you can do the work you enjoy, but also have money coming in. Because I really think ultimately freedom is important, because, and probably more so when you're young or middle-aged, because unless you're not, if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not eating the right food, if you're not doing exercise, if you're not avoiding bad chemicals like alcohol or cigarettes, or if you're consuming large amounts of that, when you hit a certain age, obviously biologically, age does make us slower, it makes us weaker, makes us possibly even more poorly. But with age, that's going to happen. But if you've been living a life where you've been consuming bad stuff on a regular basis, the chances of that happening is greater. And so if you work till you're 65 and then you retire, and now's the time to start enjoying life, but you're struggling to walk and you're out of breath, then you've worked a long time to be left with nothing. So freedom should be more important while you are at a much younger age. I mean, if you're young, if you're 18, if you're 20, if you've got the chance to travel the world, which at the moment is slightly difficult with the pandemic, go and do it. Make sure that you do it. To have a really enjoyable life and travel the world is vital if you're able to. Here in the West, we're in a great position. I know lots of people, they suffer depressions and they have all these anxieties, and we feel trapped for several things, but we should be grateful for what we have, because here in the West we do have the ability to live a far better, safer life than lots of other people in other countries, such as now what's happening again in Afghanistan. Those people, it's horrendous what's happening to them. We don't have that problem, so we should really be grateful for what we've got, and then we should embrace what we've got and try and have more of it. It's actually an insult to being alive if all we're going to do is trap ourselves into a cycle of work, earn. Half the problem with the work earns cycle is that lots of people spend what they've got that they can ill afford on things they don't necessarily need, and so then they require more money at the end of the month. They're left with more month than they are with spare money, and they do that because of what they spend on. They've not been mindful with what they're spending, so that can be a problem to freedom. Freedom comes from planning, and I'm going to talk about this in other videos over the next few weeks, talking about things such as like your bank account is truly a bank account is a reflection of your previous month's behaviour. It's nice to see a bank full of cash, and then people will see it and go, oh, I can afford to do this week. But basically, what your bank account will be at the end of the month is based on what you've actually spent or earned. So really, a bank account is a reflection of your previous month's actions, and that is, I think, something that people should think about more often. Instead of seeing their bank and thinking, oh, I can afford to do this, it should be more a case, I shouldn't do this because then by the end of the next month I'll have no money for. And also the way people spend money can actually be detrimental to their lives, whereas other people spend it, it makes them more freer. There is an art form to freedom, basically. But so we're going to talk about those things in other sort of video podcasts in the future. But again, just wanted to cover the topic of freedom. I think freedom is incredibly important. I think this is something that people should think about more often. It's all well and good leaving school and being told by teachers, parents, being told by the careers advisor that you need to leave work and then get a job. I'm not going to go down the route that there's an elitist who are trying to turn us all into worker drones, but from the outside, if you look at it, we are actually being trained to become worker drones. I'm not going to say that there's some big conspiracy just to keep making us earn tax money for them, because money basically is, we print money, we make money. It's a concept. To be in prison for money is interesting. I don't know why the wealthy people would want us taxed. So I'm not going to go into those kind of things. But if you do actually look at the way the education system is set up, we are taught certain things and beliefs that when we leave school we should go get a job. Now, there's a difference between making money and earning money, and there's a difference between understanding that we need money in our society than it being I've got to be careful how I say this, because a lot of the videos I'm going to talk about will be talking about trying to make more money and a lot of money because they will give you more freedom. So I will be talking about trying to, in some ways it sounds like I'm going to be the kind of guy who's walking around with cash in his hand, flashing wads of it and talking about becoming a millionaire and a billionaire. But it's not necessarily for ego or status, it's all to do with the freedom we can't get away from the fact that money is a tool. The more money you have, the more freedom you can have, the more things you can do. The less money you have, the more problems you will have. Or put it this way, the less money you have, the less problems you can solve quickly. So for example, if you've got money, then you are free to basically go and change the car if there's an issue. If you've got money and the boiler breaks, you can get it sorted there and then. If you haven't, you can't do much stuff about it. So money gives us freedom. It is an incredible tool. And so yes, I will talk about making money and finding ways to make money, but all for your own freedom. But again, freedom is also dependent on how much money you think you need. So if you decide that you want a big house where you have 3 cars and lots of rooms, then you're going to need more money to keep the maintenance. However, if you want to be a van lifer living in a van, then it becomes completely different. And so that way, even your skill set, your freedom skills, your premium skills, which means you can earn more money than other people, doesn't need to be as premium as you may think, because if you're living in a van, your overheads are less, you've got more freedom, you don't need to do so much work, so you could actually quite easily do a day's work for a couple £100 and be done and be happy with that. There are some jobs where you can earn a couple £100 per hour from the back of a camper van. It all depends on what your idea of freedom is or what you're happy with. But ultimately, the thing that I want to get across is that I think we do need more freedom. And it should be our birthright, because I think here in the UK, the average lifespan of a British person is around 82 years. That's probably for a man. I think it could be 82 for a man, 80 for a woman, or is it the other way around? Either way, it's not a lot. Unfortunately, there's lots of people who die younger. I know that for a fact. I've been to many funerals, and you only have to look at the news. You'll see lots of TV stars, film stars, and musicians often die before they even get into their 80s. We don't know how long we've got. My late sister didn't even reach 25. I'm fortunate that I've hit 47. I knew a close friend of mine died 10 years ago. He didn't hit 47. So life is a gift. To be alive is a gift. To be human is a blessing. And it's such a shame that people are not embracing that and working mindfully towards giving themselves more freedom. Seem to be, as a species, we seem to be locking ourselves more into a prison of we must have this, we must have that, which is great if that's what you want and you enjoy it. I'm certainly not saying that you shouldn't. You should be able to enjoy the food and the drink that we produce. You should be able to enjoy the nice cars or stuff like that. But also you need to remember that it comes at a cost. And sometimes that cost is greater than what you would have if you didn't. I mean, freedom is something... People get themselves a house and they get themselves a mortgage, and then they have to work 25 years to pay the mortgage off because they haven't bothered to have a smaller home, or they've not worked hard to pay the mortgage off early. They just keep themselves trapped in that thing. And then several years down the line, they'll say, well, I never managed to do this, or I never went to that place. I always wanted to go there for my holiday. Some people become poorly through no fault of their own, certain illnesses, which robs them of their health and their ability to work. And then, because of that, they've got a mortgage they need to pay, and everything goes pear-shaped. I think schools have taught people wrong. They should be mindful of money. They should be mindful of how and what they do. So no one's saying that you shouldn't work and you shouldn't earn money, far from it. But you should figure out what it is that you truly want. And if freedom is one of those things, then sometimes having a job is probably the worst thing you can do, because a job is what do they call it? Just over broke, J-O-B. So freedom is far more important, and the freedom, the peace of mind that comes from freedom, or the peace of mind that comes from having the money to be able to pay for stuff when you need it, is great. So I'm going to bring this little video podcast to an end. I don't know if it was more of a rant than anything helpful. I hope you found it helpful, but there's going to be more coming. But the whole purpose of freedom is so that you can have a better life. Now, as I said, I'm Andy Lehman from the Freedom Skills Academy. Some of the podcasts and videos I'm going to be talking about will come from my book here, The Life Bible, which I'm going to be giving away for free soon over at freedomskillsacademy.com, and that will be a physical copy. So I just need to get the page sorted out, and on that page you'll be able to basically just pay for postage and packaging, and then I'll be able to send that book to you wherever you are in the world. So the Life Bible is basically, it's a load of methods, techniques, systems and advice and information that I've compiled, and it's the Life Bible, How to Succeed When the Odds Are Stacked Against You, and that will be available on the Freedom Skills Academy website soon, as well as other free books. There's stuff on there and courses. We're going to talk about premium ways to make money, premium jobs, freedom skills. That's what we want to help you develop a freedom skill, and so that you can travel the world and do more, as well as earn money. We know money is important, and we know that having a lot of money is important, but you don't want to be trapped in a location dependent job working for somebody else's dream and not focusing on your own dream, unless of course that is what you want and that's what makes you happy. If it isn't, then we're going to try and help you to develop your own freedom skills, your own set of skills that you can take anywhere and work at any time for anyone around the world, which means you can earn money and you're going to have a lot more freedom. Also, we're going to try and help you to understand other things like life skills, certain life skills, things that you might not have been taught at school, things you might not have seen, certain behavioural traits. Hopefully get you to have a more enjoyable, peaceful, calmer and successful life without all the grief brought on by other people's dramas. So I'm just going to say thank you very much for listening. My name's Andy Lehman. Again, you can find us at freedomskillsacademy.com with my partner John Banks, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks very much.